And welcome back to one of the final videos in our 2021 Giveaway Gladiator build series. Now this time around, we're going to be installing those Bilstein 8100 series bypass shocks that we had showed you in an earlier video. And back then, it was just an overview. Today, we're going to get them installed. Now these 8100 series bypass shocks from Bilstein are definitely on the higher end of their shock line. And they have a big advantage over a normal 2-inch diameter smooth body shock like those 5100s that we'd already installed on this giveaway Gladiator. Now setting those 5100s next to the 8100s, you'll notice how massive the body of the 8100 shock is in comparison. That larger 2 5/8 inch diameter body contains a bigger 60 mil piston, which gives you more control compared to a smaller bodied shock. Both front and rear shocks have reservoirs, and they do two things. One, they'll allow a little extra oil in the system, which will help cooling to a small part. Now two, and more importantly, reservoirs allow the gas charge to be kept separate from the oil, which will help control shock fade by eliminating the mixing of the gas and oil during long runs through rough terrain, especially at higher speeds. You're also going to notice the bypass tubes, and they split the shock up into separate zones, allowing the oil to bypass as the shock piston moves through those zones. Now the fluid bypassing is controlled by the adjustable valves at the ends of the bypass tubes, so you can tailor the settings and your ride to your vehicle weight, and your driving style. Starting at the rear, the 8100s bolt right in place without any special mods. However, they are size specific, so make sure that you install the correct shock on its correct side. Add a little blue Loctite to the bolt threads, insert the bolts, and spin the nuts on. But do not tighten until the vehicle is on the ground, sitting at right height. To help you get them on the correct side, the shocks have a sticker on the body that identify which side they go on. Now just to be safe, double check that the reservoir is on the front side of the shock body and both bypass adjusters are accessible from the outside of the vehicle. Moving up to the front, we've got to get the old shock out, and then we want to mount the new shock in with just the top bolt to hold the shock in place. The front shocks are also size specific, and you're going to want to mount the shock with the bypass adjusters out and the remote reservoir going towards the front of the vehicle. All right, so as we look at our front shock, you'll notice that the shock eye is actually offset. And we want to make sure that that offset is towards the front of the vehicle. And we can't put it into the factory shock mount because that's going to put our bypass tubes too close to the shock tower itself. Bilstein includes a bracket that goes on the outside of the factory shock mount that will then move the shock outboard of the factory shock mount. Unfortunately, this UD44 has a much thicker shock bracket, so we've got to make a couple changes to the Bilstein bracket to make this all work. Once modified, we added the Bilstein bracket and slid the long mounting bolt through the mounts to align the holes up, and then installed the bottom retaining bolt and nut and tighten the bottom bolt securely. Now we need to mount our reservoir can. And Bilstein's instructions are going to have you mount it right here to the frame horn where it hangs down. But our particular bumper and skid plate on the giveaway Gladiator, it leaves this reservoir can fairly unprotected. So we're going to want to change our mounting position. Now if you have a large enough bumper or skid plate, for the Bilstein recommended mounting, you have two nutserts that go into these two holes. And then their mount, their bracket is going to mount right here and bolt in place, and that's going to put our can right here. For our mount, we're going to reach up here with the 16 mil wrench and pull out this bumper support bolt. And you can take that Bilstein mount and we're gonna turn it, basically gonna flip it 180 and set the bolt through the larger mounting hole. And then we're going to level out that mount. We need to drill a hole and we're gonna put one of those nut certs right here. And it's really tight up against the edge. Next up is to install the reservoir hose mounting brackets, and they are different for each side. On the driver's side, we use the smaller triangle-shaped bracket and mounted it through the factory hole on the front side of the coil bucket. We then wrapped the supplied hose clamp around the resi hose and bolted it to that bracket. On the passenger side, we use a larger arm-style mounting bracket. And then just like the driver's side, we wrapped the hose clamp around the resi hose and bolted it to the hose locating bracket. Once you have both sides installed, set the vehicle on the ground and final torque the shock mounting bolts. Now this can be a real PETA with big tires in the way. An easy way to cheat this is to set the axles on jack stands and torque them with the wheels and tires off. This way you're at ride height and you can easily get to the shock hardware. Adjusting the bypass valves is easy. From the factory, the compression valves are preset 7 full turns out from fully closed. And the rebound valves are preset 6 full turns out from closed. As you turn them, each click is 1/4 of a turn, so it'll take 4 clicks to equal 1 full turn. Now one last caveat, when driving, especially at speed, the bypass valves will be actuating and they can make a clicking sound as they do so. So you may hear that from inside the cab. So now it's time to get out there and test drive and make any adjustments. And the trick is to take lots of notes on the adjustments so you can see where you are and where you've been, and that'll help you get them set to your liking. But first, before you can do any of this, you've got to get a set of the Bilstein 8100s under your Wrangler JL or Gladiator JT. And to do that, you know the drill. Hit those links in the description box below and get a set on the way. And of course, if you have any questions or comments on these Bilstein shocks, leave them in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you and we're happy to help. And as always, thank you for watching our video and make sure to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned because, well, Wayne the winner is going to be over to pick up his Gladiator real soon, and we're going to be taking Wayne and his Gladiator out on the trail.